Yeah, so yeah, really interested in the presentation of Polly. The I love how well you do it with like it's like a cliche, but like a fish out of water, right? I mean, I picture her before her dad comes to get her. I picture her like well, talked about like she's really good friends with the librarian kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
Maybe not even friends, like that's her only refuge, right? Is the
Yeah.
library, and she knows about Venus, and she's got this bear. Hey, I played with stuffed animals for a while, but I think she's 11. And it's kind of like, all right, you stuffed animal still, like but it really shows how much she is, like you said, closed off. And then she's put into literally like running from the law, running from people who want to kill her and her dad. But you talk about the gunfighter eyes. Like, is that a literal thing? You describe it so well at the beginning that like, I don't know, military almost will like look for that.
That is true. There is a concept. I'm not saying
Uh-huh.
it's scientifically valid, but there is
Okay.
a concept out there that believes that really pale blue eyes
Hmm.
see slightly better than other eyes, or in some way that is advantageous for both gunfighters and for fighter pilots.
Uh-huh.
So there is this idea that you can see if you look at paintings of the Old West that the famous gunfighters
Mm.
tended to have blue eyes. Now,
Huh.
that is a select group. It was
Right.
not, it was who we chose to lionize out of
Sure.
the Old West. So the fact that they had blue eyes might say more about racism in our country than something else. But it is true that Wild Bill Hickok and uh, Jesse
Jesse
James
James, yeah.
and a lot of these other guys,
Mm.
Doc Holliday, a lot of them had blue eyes. So
Mm.
that is true. Again, I'm not saying at all that I think that's scientifically valid. I have no idea. Because it certainly sounds like something that a racist guy would come up
Right?
with.
Is
Yeah,
there a double blind study or
exactly. I mean, there probably has been by now, but like this is
uh,
like an old thing. But like once I had the phrase gunfighter eyes and
right.
I was like, well, I'm
You
using it.
couldn't not use that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as they're on the run, I mean, there's obviously the physical proximity. They're in the car, they're staying in motels. There's a moment a little while on where Polly, actually says "daddy," whether she slips up or says it on purpose. I mean, he
Hmm.
really is a stranger to her. I think it says at the beginning that he's been absent for half of her 11 years.
Yeah.
So he really does. She doesn't really know him, and vice versa. Right.
No, I mean, you think she knows him more from whatever photograph might have like made it
Uh-huh.
through what I'm sure was Avis tearing up a bunch of
Sure.
the photographs, but like one or two remain, and that's what Polly knows way more than actually his face. And I think you see that like the in the scene where they talk about pulling the tooth, and like
Yes.
her memories of her father are like of a hand and of
Mm.
strength less
Hmm.
than they are just of a face, you know?
Have you ever read it's William Carlos Williams short story? I think it's something about pain. It's about a dentist who makes a house call,
No,
and he just kind of like pleasures in the pain of the person, of the kid. I'm
no.
not explaining it very well. It's such a good story. I'll think of the name in a minute, but it's just about, yeah, kind of I don't know, sadism is a strong word, but just the dentist like, oh, I don't want to remove it, I don't want to remove it, and then just kind of like, I'm gonna remove it. I was reminded of that with that, which
I
is
mean,
the flashback in the book, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Flashback, yeah, yeah. So she she definitely goes through her struggles, obviously, to be taken, and she's like, I need to go, I need to call somebody. She in her head, she's like, why am I following his orders, right? I know that this car is 99% stolen. He probably did break out, like you said, who knows? But she keeps getting pulled in. What is it? Is it just is it her being a compliant person? What is it that keeps her there, especially in the beginning?
I mean, I think it's she has this very strong push-pull. She has again like a really strong ambivalence towards her father because he is her father, and
Hmm.
she has even though she has a stepfather who I portray as being good,
Right.
he's not totally her father,
Hmm.
and she is aware of that as well. And so there's this like curiosity. There is, I think, again, she doesn't always know why she does what she does, but she does follow him, I think, out of a curiosity and a desire for a relationship that she doesn't have.
Mm.
At the same time, what is happening to her is terrifying.
Right.
And she is worried about her mother before she knows the truth. And so I think it is that push-pull that again happens almost entirely internally in her
Hmm.
because of how much she is internally focused at this point of the
Mm.
of the novel. When you meet her, everything gets pushed in. Like that is the big thing about Polly is that the way she deals with pain is swallowing.
Mm,
And and that again, I think is what you see. Her father says it a different way. Nate says it when he's talking about being raised by his brother Nate or Nick,
mm, hmm.
and like the lessons that he got taught by his
Right.
brother Nick. And one of those is that like the play, I'm not quoting exactly, it's been a long time, but like the job of a man is to take more than his share of pain,
Hmm.
which is a belief that I carry with me that it was given to me like without ever being articulated, but by masculinity in the Ozarks. My grandfather really articulated that without ever articulating it, but just how he lived his life was the idea
Mm,
that like you help take other people's pain, but you
mm.
never give your own pain out.
Yeah.
So you're helping other people, and I that's not a totally healthy aspect, but it's something that I am aware I carry in myself, and I wanted to show kind of where that led in a lot of ways that both
Hmm.
in Nate and Polly have a tremendous amount of bad feelings, and the ways they deal with them aren't always good. Like Nate is not a great father. Like
Mm.
sometimes people say that to me, like I'm going to be surprised, and it's like no, he is not. But what he is the father she needs in this moment.
Mm. Yeah.
And this is like the one time, as awful as what he does, and you know, no, this isn't spoilers, but like the movie, I think, understandably being a movie made today, softens how much danger Nate puts Polly in. In the book, he
Uh,
puts her
yeah.
at risk,
Yes.
under the belief that she's safer with him than without, that leaving her in the car
Hmm.
is not safer because at least if she's in his eyesight, he can protect her.
Sure.
And again, is that a good choice?
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah.
robbing meth labs. You know, none of this is a good choice, but there's no recommendation that the good choice would result in a better outcome. That if the green light's not lifted,
Yeah.
even if she goes inside, she will die.
Right. Right. How long more or less does the book, what's the range this book takes place?
That's a really good question. Again, like I would have to go back and look. There's definitely a period in the middle where you get the feeling that weeks have passed, at
Uh-huh.
least weeks
Uh-huh.
have passed. I would say it takes place over a couple of months, more or
Yeah,
less.
yeah, yeah.
And enough time that she is truly changed in several
Uh,
ways, so that when you see her at the end and she is in her own 10-year-old way terrifying,
hmm.
I think that it's taken a long enough journey that you understand how she got there, and it's not a snap change, that
Right. Yes, I feel like it's a perfect amount of time. It really is the book is a moment in time in some ways. I mean, it's just a small, small, small piece of Polly's life. Obviously, it's speeds things up so much that so much happens in such a short period of time. But I just love that idea. I love the you ever see a movie and you're just like, "Oh man, they're setting up a sequel."
hmm
Like that was weak. I loved your flash forward. I don't know if you would call it at the end. That's a flash forward but I love the nebulousness of that ending. I love the fact that I was like a legitimate, like I want to know more. I would so read where she's at, where people are at in 7 years and 10 years and 15 years. I just love that part.
Thank you. I read a book one time, and the name of the author escapes me, but it's a book about the craft of writing fiction. And
Hmm.
the title of the book I remember very well because I reference it a lot in my work. Is It's called The Lie That Tells the Truth.
Uh,
And I couldn't even tell you at this point. It's been so long since I read it that if it's a good book about writing or not. I love the concept of the lie that tells the truth, and
sure.
I think I explore that a lot in my fiction. In fact, I would say the bear in the
Mm,
book is an exploration of that idea that he is not real, but he is true, is the way
yes.
that Polly thinks of it.
Sorry to interrupt you. You use that as that's like in your like thank you notes, your acknowledgments at the end.
Do I say that again in the?
You do. I got it right here. You said uh, yeah, thanks. Acknowledgments is very short, 3 paragraphs. If the third paragraph is one sentence. Novels are hard. First novels are harder. Thanks to the bear who isn't real but is true.
Yeah, hold on just one second.
Yeah, no problem.
So That's the bear. Like
Uh-huh.
this is my childhood teddy bear.
Uh-huh. Whoa.
And if you
He's
when
in
you
good
watch,
shape,
thank you, thank you. Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's been, he's got some stitches and stuff. But if you read the book, you will see he's described pretty much perfectly. And if you see the movie, it's not perfect, but I did. I whatever. This doesn't have to be perfect, but like, but I sent a photo of my bear to
Uh,
Nick Rowland, the director, and said, "This is the bear." So so he's modeled off.
okay.
It's like you're seeing another actor play him.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but like I look, I mean, again, I think if I can give myself credit, and I think I'm far enough away from the book that I can
Hmm.
kind of give myself a credit that I might not have given
Right.
myself at the time. I wanted to write this really rough, gritty, dark novel. And in a lot of ways, it is a rough, gritty, dark novel, but I
Hmm.
wanted to imbue it with something I had never seen in that genre. And I've always been interested in complicating like the
Mm.
machismo.
Sure.
And so I was, whenever and I do not remember having the idea, but the idea to put the bear in it and to make
Hmm.
the bear a major part of the story, I think was one of my best ideas that I had in the
Totally,
book
totally, totally.
because it is so at odds with anything else I can think of in the world of
Hmm.
like hard-boiled crime fiction with Nazi skinheads. And
Right.
to me, that's like the heart of the book. I've said this a lot. Um, with the scene near the end where Polly climbs the fence with the bear and has that
Hmm.
moment was the first scene I wrote
Oh, wow.
because to me it's the heart of the whole book.
Sure.
Um, And while I'm not saying that to like diminish the relationship between Polly and her father, to me, it's almost like a three-hander. And it is
Mm.
about Polly's relationship with like realness, the truth. Um, and there's a very spoiler-esque thing that I could say that I won't because it's a
All
big
right.
spoiler. But I think what she says about her father in that flash forward very much relates to the bear, and it comes to that question of like
Uh,
who is alive and who is dead,
yeah.
what is real and what is not,
Yeah.
and what matters. I
Hmm.
think that's a big part of it. So I am, again, to look back on the me of 13 years ago to talk about the beginning of this,
Uh-huh.
I see a lot of maybe I think it's one of the best choices I've made in like the history of my writing career was
Yes.
to focus the bear. And if I could I'm so in love with my new book. So I
Uh,
hate to say like I'm not sure there's something that it's such a crazy book, but like I don't know how to top the bear. Like in some ways like that.
yeah.
Maybe you don't. Maybe it's like
Yeah.
that's the special thing you
Yeah.
did first. And
Yeah.
like so I am incredibly like that's incredibly meaningful to me in a way that I
Right.
think has defined my whole career as
Yeah.
a male crime writer who is pushing on a lot of these things from a direction that is trying to cut against like the masculinity of
Mm.
it all.
Yeah, I read work in reverse order. I read Everybody Knows First.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, this is a guy just absolutely at the top of his game.
Thank
And
you.
then I read She Rides Shotgun, which is your first, and it's like, oh, this is a guy who's at the top of his game. You know, like there wasn't much room for improvement, like man. The basically when somebody okay, I was gonna say you talking about the bear, like, I'm a high school teacher and like the bear is so meaningful to me in that book because so many students, I'm not saying anything incredibly prescient or whatever, but like so many students have their bear, if we're using it as a metaphor, right? Like it's their video game, it's their this, it's their that thing that like kind of shields them from the world, that like confidant,
Hmm.
Some, I mean, it's their phones, it's whatever, and like, yeah, just the way that you paint her as somebody who's, probably best friend at that time the story starts is the bear, right?
Yes,
Not probably, it is.
it is. It absolutely is. And I when I wrote it, I did not this phrase never came to me, but I've had people ask me multiple times, or not even ask me, say like, well, Polly's neurodivergent.
Mm,
And I'll be totally frank with you. When somebody said that to me for the first time, my first thought was, oh, I'm neurodivergent. Because I'm Polly, like,
right.
and so, and
Right.
without getting into it, I am, and like, um, that. it never occurred to me that she was. Like, I thought she was
Mm,
weird, but I'm weird. I thought
sure.
that
We're
she
all
had
weird. Mm,
thoughts that didn't
mm.
fit. A lot of the stories that come from Polly's childhood are true.
Uh-huh.
Um, the story that she tells about pretending to be Jewish to get out of class is true.
Uh-huh.
I did that when I was a kid. Um, a lot of the stories about her taking IQ tests and the way that felt are all based on when I was that age and got I almost said diagnosed, but like diagnosed
Right.
with a high IQ, which, we get older and does that mean anything at all? I don't know. Um, but like, and I've told this story before too. So again, if I've said it to you before, I apologize. But like, the first draft of this book, like when I said I have the file from 2013,
Yeah.
when it was called Ride or Die, it was all told from Nate's point of view,
Oh wow.
like all of it, and it didn't work. It was not a good. It wasn't bad, like but I think again, if I can credit myself and be proud of something I did, having the courage to look at it and say this has to be told from Polly's point of view,
Uh-huh.
partially because I can write a convincing tough guy, but I I am more Polly than I am Nate. Like
Sure, sure, sure,
Nate,
sure.
every character you ever make a point of view character is partially you. Like
Mm, has to be, right.
has to be.
Mm.
And it gets interesting when you start getting to like my new book has three protagonists that you hop around between,
Okay.
and you start to see, well, wow, I really am a lot of different people because these are three wildly different characters and they're all
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also like I someday I'll get down on the couch and figure it out, like which characters I choose because all of my books also, including these, everybody knows Last King of California, the new one, A Violent Masterpiece, and She Rides Shotgun, all have both male and female point of view characters.
Uh-huh.
And which characters I choose to make male and which characters I choose to make
Mm.
female
Mm.
probably says a lot. I know
Mm-hmm.
that, the like my partner Megan is reading A Violent Masterpiece right now, and she said to me yesterday or the day before, she's like, it's interesting that you put all of like the trauma that you're processing in your life into the female character. I said,
Mm.
huh, you're right.
Is there
And that
sort of
means
emotional distance there, maybe?
I don't no, I actually don't think that's what it is at all. I think
Mm.
that again, I'm not coming out here, but like I feel like I have a pretty good sense of my female side, like that
Uh-huh.
I pay attention to it, and then I also obviously like try and pay attention to people who live their lives as women, and hear them. But no, I feel like I don't think I'm writing an other when I write women. I try very much to do that, so I don't think it's about
Right,
emotional
right, right, right,
distance.
right, right.
I think if anything, I think I have toxic masculine views of who is allowed to feel pain and who isn't.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
like, and I said to her, because this is true, I said, the one book where the person with the trauma is the male protagonist is Last King of California. And Megan said, isn't that the book that everybody thinks is too dark? And I said, yeah, you're right. Like that's a really good point. That
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
the the one book where I have the male character be like damaged and wounded from the beginning is the one
Sure.
that frankly is my least commercial book. I love it. I think it's one of my best,
Uh-huh.
but like it's my least commercial book, and I do think part of it is that the guy is like wounded and vulnerable from the beginning, and I think
That's so interesting.
particularly, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's
Huh.
it's it's an interesting thing. Thank you for,
Yeah.
I pay my therapist a lot of money for this, so I appreciate you
Of course.
doing
I
this.
appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that. It's a very literal, but can be taken figuratively. There's the bullet that Nate has that slowly coming out. He gets through a lot of there's a lot of fights. There's a lot of fights and some bullets are out there. With this idea that nothing stays buried forever.
Yeah.
Um, do you see do you see Polly as like at 11? Do you see her as like a trauma victim, or is she not old enough to get it? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I mean, you're saying like, I mean, a thing about this book, and it's something you deal with in crime stories because you
Hmm.
kill people and then you have to have the people around them have appropriate reactions, but
Sure.
you also have to move on with the story, right?
Uh-huh.
That, again, like, I think when you're writing a book, it's really good to throw any medicalized jargon about your characters out of your head
Right.
because people don't experience, and I know you're not saying this, but like people don't experience trauma as like a sentence. Like that's just a sentence that you say, but like the experience of it is not,
Okay.
oh, I'm
Hmm.
experiencing trauma. It's you
Yes.
have physical sensations, you have thoughts
Uh,
you can't control. It
mm,
doesn't feel like a medicalized thing, any more than like if you get punched in the eye, you don't go, I've just developed a cerebral hematoma.
uh-huh.
And so I never try and use that kind of language while I'm writing. But I think Polly absolutely is traumatized by the death of her mother early on, um, and deals with it. And again, like I think you can see a lot of what happens in the book as a person who has been keeping stuff inside for this long until something
Yes.
happens that she can't keep inside.
Yeah.
And when I say her father's the right father for this moment, because he is the person who knows how to take that like
Hmm.
volcanic thing that was already in her and now comes
Hmm.
out. There's a scene when she learns that her mother dies. It's not purely sadness that comes out. The
Right.
rage comes out.
Right, 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 right.
And it is not just rage at the death of her
It's
mother.
visceral. It's
It's
visceral.
visceral.
Yeah.
And it is a little girl who is like ferally alive, but has been kind of like
Hmm.
pressed down by her
Yeah.
life and her inability to deal with the world, which again, maybe there's something again like neurodivergence is not a thing I thought about, but like there's
Hmm.
something about her inability to deal with the world and that
Mm.
her wherever she learned to press it in instead of like deal with it correctly. And
Yeah.
so she is dealing with these huge feelings at this exact moment. There is a man who knows how to channel violence into the
Hmm.
ways that it is most effective and also in this world most justified.
Mm.
She goes from somebody who's firing guns in on herself to somebody who's not just throwing it out at the world at random, but it's like he teaches her to focus and aim and attack the people who are literally causing this.
Yeah. Well, I'm across the screen from somebody who knows how to channel violence into great reading, right?
Thank you. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Kind of wrapping it up again, not wanting to give away too much and wanting people to read this book, see this movie. You have Park, who's one of the POVs in the book. First name John?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. But I'm so interested in him. Okay, so sorry, backing up a little bit. The chapter 0 or the very beginning of the book is it Craig?
Crazy Craig, yeah.
Crazy Craig, and I think I posted this online, and Crazy Craig and Pelican Bay. It's like, okay, this is how you start a book. His skin told his history in tattoos and knife scars. He lived in a room with no night, and he was to his own mind a god. And it goes on to talk about he had men for various body parts, hands, as in the men served as his hands.
Yeah.
And then ends with his will be done. I was like, man, I'm wondering if his was not the first word of that sentence, would you have capitalized it? You know what I'm
It should
saying?
have been. Yeah, no, no, you're right.
Right?
Yes.
Like
That
godly.
he is God. Yes, and that's a very intentional. I wrote that fairly late in the
Hmm.
process. I think I added that chapter 0.
So good.
Thank you. I no, when you just read out loud, I did have again that thought, oh fuck, that his skin tells his history and
Yes.
tattoos and knife scars. That's a good line.
That's a great line.
Um, and I I did want to, there's a little bit of Cormac McCarthy in that,
Mm.
and I think that partially that is me filtering something. S.A. Cosme, my good friend, often talks about his mode of writing as being very Old Testament,
Uh-huh.
and mine not necessarily. And I didn't know Sean when I wrote this book, but I do think that was me channeling a type of language that I don't normally use. I don't think of myself
Right.
as an Old Testament writer.
Hmm.
Um, but I was definitely going for it. And I think, one of the things that I like about that phrase, I think I expound on it later, but the room with no night.
Yes.
This is a thing that happens to hardcore prisoners in jail is they get put in a room where they don't turn the lights off. So when it says it's a room with no night, that is a literal idea that
Mm.
he is in like deep, deep seg someplace,
Yep.
where particularly they did it to, I think his name was Tommy Silverstein, very famously a story told in the nonfiction book, The Hot House, which is about Leavenworth Prison
Okay.
in the 60s. And Tommy Silverstein was an early member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And he, while in Leavenworth, killed a guard with his somebody slipped him a knife
Mm.
and he murdered a guard in retaliation for something. I can't remember what it was, but he was already like a lifer,
Uh-huh.
and he made the decision to do this to kill a guard, and they ended up putting him in deep seg, no contact for basically the rest of his life.
Mm. Mm.
And this was essentially, and again, I think the book maybe, it sure glorifies the white criminals more than the black ones, something that, again, I'm
Mm.
aware of as somebody who writes about white trash criminals. I don't want to
Mm.
treat the white trash criminals as special compared to everybody else. It's
Mm.
just who I know better.
Right.
Um, but um, but it's basically they tortured him for years. And you can choose how much sympathy to have for him
Ah.
about that, and but they did,
Mm.
that is like leaving the lights on all the time that's
Yeah.
torture.
Yeah.
And but as it's presented in this book, it's just something that is a fact.
Sure.
And I think it contributes to the unreality
Mm.
of his character to just kind of mention and not explain
Hmm.
where he lives, but it just makes him seem like, well, surely God lives in a place with no night, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I guess I was connected. So yeah, just connecting that to Park, where who has the POV also, where he's I mean, is he a detective?
Yeah.
He's blue. Like, he's a detective, right? But I just love how visceral, I started to use that word again, but like, hey, it is with, you start off by describing him. That's my connection to Craig, is that you start off with Craig, like, it's so physical. You see around you, you see the light or lack thereof, right? The hands and all of that. And with Park, he gets a buzz, I think is the word, right? He gets a
Yep.
buzz from like the excitement of chasing criminals, of all that happens with it. I wonder kind of where you came up with that idea. I mean, it's not like it's ludicrous, crazy off the wall, but I wonder, did you have someone in mind? Did you have, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, um, I don't do them anymore because I can't stomach doing them anymore.
Mm.
But back then, when I wrote this book, I was started writing this book. I was working for a TV show called The Mentalist,
Oh yeah.
and I would go on ride-alongs either with the LAPD or with the sheriff's department here. I was already a fairly radical person, but my politics have radicalized a great deal since then, and partially based on things I saw while doing
Sure.
these ride-alongs. But I don't know if it was the first one I went on, but very close to the first ride-along I went on. Um, I experienced what it's like to go, there was a shooting,
Hmm.
and the guy who was the cop I was with, hit the sirens, hit the lights, and started just driving, 60 miles an hour through the streets of downtown, or, like South Central Los Angeles,
Yeah.
just b bombing red lights,
Right. 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 Right.
And one thing I can say is if you're a cop, some part of you, if that's what you're doing, some part of you better be an adrenaline junkie
Hmm.
because it is a incredible feeling. It's an
Mm.
incredible feeling.
Hmm.
And again, you see how that same night or some night like it, like I had this moment where they took me through South Central and they drove me by. There's a black biker gang whose headquarters is in South Central.
Hmm.
And they drove us past they did a slow drive past this headquarters when there are all these guys and in like the biker cuts and all that, just standing outside the club. And I made eye contact with one, and he nodded at me, and I nodded at him like I was, a cop keeping my eye on him. And it
Sure.
was a fucking blast. And again, this is like I have very serious issues with policing and police. But I would be lying if I said I didn't understand
Right.
that there is a thrill to it. And
Mm.
so when I tried to think about, again, with Park, trying to think of a concept I'd never seen, really that idea of the cop as an adrenaline junkie
Hmm.
really explored fully. Like you might see it in like an action movie, like a Lethal Weapon, but not a
Hmm.
serious
Sure.
exploration of
Sure.
it. And so I think that was really where it came from is I needed to give him a top spin, right? Like
Mm.
you want to talk about like writing advice, like everybody wants to write these super complex characters, and you should
Hmm.
write complex characters. But the
Hmm.
truth is you need to start with like a big idea, a big like this is who this character is, and then develop like ridges inside that.
Okay.
If you start from the beginning, try to portray them as fully complex the first time you meet them, they'll just feel muddled.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
But how do you avoid, I mean, obviously in your skilled hands, but how do you avoid like a trope? How do you avoid like fitting the character into your mold? Do you know what I mean? Like I want him to be an atheist. I don't know. And that's not maybe a great example,
well,
but
I think what you want to find is you want to find forgive me, like a dialectic relationship inside the person. So what I mean is instead of saying, I want to do a tough guy cop,
hmm.
you want to say, I want to do a guy who is all about the dialectic relationship between weakness and strength.
Okay.
So any guy who's a tough guy, you need to show him as weak right away. You know what I mean? Or like
Yes,
if
yes.
like that dialectic relationship is usually the most interesting thing about a person.
Mm.
The things they hate say more about a character than the things they don't care about.
Yeah, okay.
The opposites, this is all like, but like what I'm saying is, so it's not like you say if that thing I'm talking about, that like that big shape at the beginning shouldn't be a factory stamp. It needs to have.
Uh-huh.
So again, what I'm saying about Park is you open with he is doing this because it's a kick and a thrill. And again,
Is that considered a weakness though?
no, and I'm just using that
But
as an
just
example. So,
okay.
like, what I was actually thinking about when I said that was Chris at the beginning of Everybody Knows, where
Uh-huh.
you meet him and he's a big tough ogre, but even from the beginning, he has these like bad feelings about what he's doing and
Yeah,
self-loathing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's like
yeah,
this
yeah.
tough shell presented, but you're instantly shown
Sure. Okay.
his weaknesses, and that's just one way of doing it. But with
Uh,
Park, it was more about maybe that was that's why that was confusing because I didn't differentiate.
uh,
But what I'm saying about Park is so you have this guy who is about law and order, right? He's a
uh-huh.
cop, he's about law and order. And the thing that makes him interesting is that the thing driving that is this anarchic rock and roll spirit.
Yes. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so what I'm saying is you present that at the top. That's not complex. That is a
Uh,
two-piece contradiction.
uh-huh.
Open with that.
Mm-hmm.
Open with this big, bold contradiction
Mm-hmm.
or interesting dilemma inside a character, and then start to complicate that with like the
Right.
little things come later. I'm just
Right.
saying, know what the big, splashy, like
Mm-hmm.
Han Solo is a rebel, but he's got a heart of gold.
Yes.
Like start with something big, and maybe it can be tropey, but I would encourage to find that like how can I spin this, but it needs to
Yeah.
be you need to be able to articulate who the character is
Uh-huh.
in, like if it was a trope,
Yeah.
and then spend the rest of the book deepening it.
Yeah, I think what's so good about Park, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now, is I think he's kind of very specific, but he's also every man.
Yeah, he's coming in from the outside. He does have that element that is driving him at first. And I think the thing that I also like about how you meet Park is when you meet him, he does not care about Polly.
Right.
He is not doing this because he's desperate to find this missing girl.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this is going to be fun. We're going to go chase down this like,
Mm-hmm.
redneck who just they at this point early in the story, Park believes that Nate is the killer of
Yes.
Polly's mother. Um, and that's why he's doing it. He's not doing it because he has like again, I'm trying to subvert like the typical cop
Mm.
tropes
Mm-hmm.
of like I'm invested in this because there's a little girl out there. And I wanted to just show him as a human being and somebody who
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's dark, but I get off. And it's not that he like hates Polly or is a sociopath. It's
Sure.
just he doesn't know Polly. He goes to work every
Yeah.
day and he has to find the joy that gets him rocking, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's so that he's excited when he learns the girl is missing because it
Mm-hmm.
means he's going to get out and go things. And you see him transform as well. He goes on a little journey himself in
Right?
the book.
A little bit.
A little bit. And that's what I mean about complicating it. It's like, but I'm just saying if you try and present every complication
Mm-hmm.
and quirk all at once at the beginning, you're just going to write a muddled character.
Mm-hmm.
But so start big and bold and then focus in.
Mm-hmm.
That's my advice because
Yeah.
I have dealt with and I've done it. I've done it with friends when I'm reading their scripts where I'm like, I know this is a complex character, but I'm reading it's just a muddle. You got to give
Mm-hmm.
your audience handholds into the person. And you, by the way, you feel that when you meet a person,
Mm-hmm.
you give them a little label in your head,
Mm-hmm.
whether you know it or not, and then you can complicate it. But like, when you meet somebody, you do not perceive them in their totality and all of their quirks and foibles.
No.
You make big assumptions and then it's not that you overturn those assumptions, you complicate them.
How much of your work what is it like to see your words put into action from an actor and actress?
Again, all I can say is it is a truly surreal experience.
Hmm.
It is the feeling of unreality in your waking life. It is so again like thir whatever, 12 years ago, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to turn Lone Wolf and Cub into like a redneck story. Um, and uh, and then you're sitting in a movie theater with a big photo of Taron Egerton and Anna Sophia, who's an amazing actress.
She's Polly.
She's Polly. She is
Hmm.
so good. Um, and particularly again, like I'm so glad that it's in movie theaters. I'm glad I saw it in a movie theater. I know most people won't get to see it in a movie theater. The
Mm-hmm.
theatrical release is fairly limited.
Hmm.
It will, have other lives. It'll be on video on demand, and I'm
Hmm.
sure eventually it'll wind up on a streamer. I don't know anything about that, but I
Mm.
assume it will
Okay.
wind up on a streamer at some point. But I really hope people get to see it in the theater because it's they won't have the reaction I have. Nobody else can. But like, it's crazy. This is crazy what is happening to like what a life, what a life. It is,
Um,
and again, I just feel incredibly lucky because, it took a long time, but it's here and it's a big milestone for an author in today's culture.
right.
To me, the books are the most important thing, and
Hmm.
always will be. But it's going to, it leaves a mark. This
Hmm.
is another way this book can leave a mark in the world.
Hmm.
And let's not lie, like that's why I do this.
Yes, 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 yes.
I do publish the books. I'm not Kafka.
Kafka. I'm either quoting my former professor Ron Hansen, The Assassination of Jesse James by the
Mm,
Coward, right? He wrote
yeah.
that book, or Bart Simpson, but this idea of or what was the guy? Just the idea of about Hollywood and often not doing justice to the book. And it sounds like it really did. Obviously, you were a huge part of that with the not just from the book itself, but from the words on the page and the screenwriting format. And it's just so awesome. I got my tickets. Shout out to the Cinedome in the Sacramento area, August 1st. People are listening now. What are you doing? Why haven't you ordered the book slash got your ticket? Go to Fandango, all that stuff. But again, the book is She Rides Shotgun, Lionsgate Pictures Films.
Yeah, yeah. Lionsgate acquired it. It was made by Make Ready, which is a
Okay.
smaller independent studio that then sold the distributsion to Lionsgate. I mean, that's inside baseball. Yes, it is.
Right.
You can get tickets through Lionsgate, which is actually the important thing to transmit there.
Yeah. Congrats. Just really appreciate you sitting down and just not doing lip service. I'm just doing dropping so much knowledge and the humility, but you're obviously just an incredibly talented writer. So thanks and congrats.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me on. This was fun. Thanks for letting me go deep.
Same.